I'm gonna share with you 3 things that have helped grow my Instagram account from 0 followers to over 120,000 followers that have brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars of work for my companies and great brand endorsements for my personal brand. But most importantly, it's helped me make lifelong connections with people around the world, and it's really raised my profile. The biggest mistake a lot of people make with their Instagram account is this, right? It's like moving to a new town with no friends. You have nobody in the city. And what do you need to do to be able to make new friends? You have to go out of the house, you have to go sign up to classes, you need to interact with people. It's about giving versus expecting people to come to your house going, hey, you're new, hey, come over, can I come in? It's like, that's silly, right? And that's a bit creepy. Don't answer the door, right? So it's the same with social media. A lot of people just think, I just did a post and the algorithm's gonna favor me and just put me in front of everybody and I'm gonna grow really big. Wrong. What I found that's really helpful, that's grown my account and grown the connections in my community on social media is this. I came up with a technique called the power of 10. The power of 10 is where you spend 10 minutes a day where you're interacting with people that you follow. That's it, right? Interacting meaning across the top of the story on your feed, when you've got people that you've been following, you tap on their stuff and you're looking through it genuinely, just looking authentically and tapping away. And if you see something you like, send them a note. If you see something that's funny, send them a laughing emoji. But comments weigh a lot more than emojis and likes. So send a note to people and it starts a conversation. Let's, again, humanize the process here. People need a touch point. People connect with people through conversation, not just through seeing people over and over again. That's part of it, but they need to know there's someone on the other side, right? So when you do that, when I've done that, it actually makes me aware of them and it makes me known to them more, and then they reach out back to me. And they might reciprocate that same thing when I do a post. And before you know it, if you do this for a week, 2 weeks, to a month, to 3 months, when you do a post, your engagement's all of a sudden up, and guess who's engaging with you? Usually those people you're engaging with as well. So it's about creating genuine engagement through interaction, right? It's called the power of 10. Now, if you're a small business and you're trying to engage with people in your local community, here's a really, really good one. I've run multiple businesses before. Some have been local. One particularly in a rural area. We've had 3 campuses where my target audience was families, right? If I had a business and it was a local building business, I'd spend 10 minutes a day going to the search engine part of Instagram and typing in Bunnings Warehouse or something that's a big place which has a target market with people that are purchasing, that are in my industry, building. So I'd go there and I'll look at their posts and I'll look at their followers and I'll strategically engage with those followers. Engaging meaning I'd comment on any profile that's public. So some of those followers are going to Bunnings because they've got DIY projects or they're in the industry themselves. And you might see their profiles public and you might just comment, hey, good work there, mate. Oh, well done. Comment, like I said, weighs a lot more than a like. Your comment or your interaction makes you known then. You come out of the shadows and you're encouraging them. You're gifting them with something. You're gifting them the gift and the value of attention. And that's beautiful. If you do that, I guarantee your followers will go up and there'll be genuine followers. There'll be people that will be within your niche in your local area. So spend 10 minutes a day, especially if you're in a geographical area and you've got a local shop. That's a very helpful one. It's worked for me. So we talked about the power of interaction. Now I'm going to talk about the big C word. It's not what you think. It's actually the big C word in content land, in my view, is curation. A lot of people think when you curate your content that it's inauthentic, like it's a lie, it's a fib. And I think it's bullshit, right? I think everyone curates their stuff. When you go for a job interview, do you put every aspect of your career and your life in the resume? If you do, you're a fool. You don't want to put in things in your resume that isn't relevant for the person in front of you to read, right? If you want to give it a good shot, you've got to put your best foot forward. You got to present yourself in the best light. When you're going on a date and you're in a dating app, are you going to put some of the worst things you've ever done on your profile and scare people away? No. Guess what? You're curating. And there's nothing wrong with curating. Curating doesn't mean you have to fib or leave things out for the sake of faking it till you make it. It's actually being strategic. And this is what the key is to building a strong personal brand and a strong brand online. Because people only care about 2 things when it comes to your personal brand or your content or your business. How do you make them survive or thrive? How you're making people aware and educated that you're making them feel safe because you're informing them that, hey, if you don't do this, bad things are gonna happen. But if you do these types of things, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be exciting, it's gonna help you get toward your goals, right? Let's have a look at some examples, right? If we looked at Domino's Pizza's Instagram account, let's have a look at that. Domino's at the moment has 1.7 million followers on Instagram. There's not one post on their feed that says buy one, get one free. There's not one that says, hey, here's the special. Their feed is not a flippin' billboard of trying to sell you. But I'll tell you one thing, when you go on their feed, it makes you want to eat pizza because basically it's just pizza porn, right? It's people eating pizza, showing its menu, it's fun skits about challenges about eating pizza, memes, but there's not one thing about the price on their feed, right? There's two parts to digital marketing in that sense. There's the organic social media content approach, which means I'm not trying to sell you direct marketing of specials. I'll let the digital marketing do that, which is targeted ads toward you, like buying ads for that, media buying. That's a different story. That brings in cash, but this brings in brand trust, okay? Dominos makes me want to survive or thrive. They're tapping into a very emotional feeling of like when I see their stuff, it makes me want to eat, even though I'm not hungry. When I see their stuff, it makes me want to celebrate and find a reason to be able to buy it. Because when I see their content, it taps into my psyche. It's not just trying to tell me facts about pizza. And okay, that's a food example. What about in service-based businesses like psychology? How is that gonna help me survive and thrive? Well, a lot of psychologists, or in some industries like psychology, it's illegal for them to market the services. So what can they do to be able to help build trust and build exposure to an audience? Here's a great example of what some psychologists do. This guy's feed is full of questions and topics where he just commentates on, and he's a psychologist. Like 7 emo questions to ask yourself after a breakup, 9 powerful steps to stand by a loved one in a mental health crisis. That's definitely helping someone survive or thrive, but it's speaking to not the victim, but the helper. You know, someone who's there to be able to support somebody. And that's a really valuable tool. Now, he's not selling his services directly because in his industry, it's illegal, like I said. But when I see his stuff, it educates me, it makes me feel empowered. If I ever need help or I need to think of a service to refer people to, I'm probably gonna think about referring to him because he's in my head, he's the helper in my mind. So that's the power of content. It's getting over the idea that curation is an evil thing. Now here's a really funny one. When we're talking about personal branding, there's a difference between showing your personal life and your private parts. Your personal life, in my view, means things like your interests. Like I'm into music, right? I love certain foods and coffees, right? I have certain memories, certain life lessons that I share on my social media. I'm happy to, because it helps to connect with my audience. It helps me keep me human. And it also just is useful for my point, right? It's a story to be able to assist with my point. Now, there's my private parts, right? In the law of Australia at least, it's illegal to walk down the street showing your private parts. Now, why is that? Well, what do we call that? Indecent exposure. But isn't that an interesting concept? Because it implies that there are some parts of your physical body that are reserved for in your own privacy of your own house. It requires consent, right? And I believe that we are in danger of not knowing the difference between personal and private of our lives. I believe certain parts of your life should remain private. They should not be shown on social media. And this will be maybe controversial to some people, but I will never show my kids on social media. Right? I will not post where I live on social media. I will not post necessarily my political stances or certain things because they are, in my views, just as much as my private parts emotionally and as part of my personality, as much as my physical private parts, all right? I've seen private parts too much. This is really, really strange, right? Private parts, private parts, private parts. But I think you get the point, right? So when it comes to branding, I think the private issues can take away and distract from the actual goal of your account. Meaning this, why the hell are you posting anything on social media in the first place? This is a really, really, really big important question. Because if you're not thinking about it, you just post random stuff. So if you're going and did all the stuff I just told you to do in this video, if you just went out and did the first part of the power of 10, like you went and interacted and people said, oh, this guy's pretty cool. You come back to see his profile and they just see him, photos of his dog, photos of his political views, photos of his kids, photos of that. They're gonna think you're a lifestyle influencer, not a builder. And that's a big problem. So curation's really important, but if you pick a niche, if you pick something that this account stands for this, and this is what I've made my account about. My account is purely for commercial reasons. It's not to necessarily be best friends with people. I've closed groups for that outside of Instagram. It's about building a brand, building credibility and connections for commercial purposes. I know why I post. Do you know why you post? And make sure everything points toward that. There's nothing wrong with having that intention. And you can do it authentically, meaning through creating your personality topics, your survive and thrive topics about your industry, and interacting. That's how I've been able to grow a really good audience that's only benefited my businesses and benefited a lot of great opportunities that come my way from it. So out of what I mentioned today, I want to hear in the comments what you found most interesting. Like, are you doing the power of 10? I guarantee most of you aren't doing any outreach at all for a regular period of time. Are you thinking about your content and how it helps people survive or thrive, or are you just hard selling everybody? And thirdly, have you made the decision and the distinction between what is personal and what is private in social media land? Because I believe social media isn't the safest place to be able to show your private parts of your life.